Bonnie Tyler, dead at 75, after emergency intestinal surgery. She sang the words, "Turnaround," to millions of people for over 40 years. But this time, there was no turning around. Bonnie Tyler, the voice behind one of the biggest power ballads of all time, has died at 75, just weeks after doctors placed her in an induced coma. Here's what really happened. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we cover the biggest stories in music, entertainment, and the icons who shaped our culture. So if that sounds like your kind of content, hit subscribe before we get started. Today we're talking about the passing of Bonnie Tyler, the Welsh singer whose gravelly, unmistakable voice powered Total Eclipse of the Heart and Holding Out for a Hero, two songs that have never really left the airwaves, even decades later. Bonnie died on July 8th at a hospital in Portugal, following a health battle that began with an emergency surgery back in May. In this video, we're going to walk through her incredible rise from a Welsh mining town to global stardom, the health crisis that led to her final days, and the tributes now pouring in from fans and fellow artists around the world. Let's get into it. Before she was Bonnie Tyler, she was Gaynor Hopkins, a coal miner's daughter growing up in Skewen, Wales, in a house with an outside toilet and not much money to spare. She was one of 5 kids, and by all accounts, music was her escape from day one. She used to sit for hours singing into a hairbrush, recording songs straight off the television with a reel-to-reel tape recorder so she could study the lyrics. Her heroes weren't polished pop stars. She gravitated toward raw, soulful voices like Janis Joplin, Tina Turner, and Otis Redding. And if you've ever heard Bonnie sing, you can hear exactly where that influence went. Here's a twist most casual fans don't know. That iconic raspy voice everyone associates with her. It wasn't always like that. In 1976, she had surgery to remove nodules on her throat, and the surgery permanently altered her voice, giving her that unmistakable rasp. What could have ended a lot of singing careers ended up becoming her signature sound. She started performing under the name Shireen Davis, fronting a soul band before a talent scout discovered her and brought her to London. Eventually, she signed with RCA under a new name, the one the world would come to know, Bonnie Tyler. Her first album came out in 1977, and by 1978, she already had a top 3 hit with It's a Heartache. But the song that would define her entire career was still a few years away. By the early 80s, Bonnie had signed with Sony, and everything changed the night she watched Meat Loaf perform Bat Out of Hell on the BBC. She was floored, and she knew she needed to work with the man behind that song, legendary writer and producer Jim Steinman. Steinman brought her something he'd been sitting on, a song called Total Eclipse of the Heart. It became the lead single off her album Faster Than the Speed of Night. And it didn't just become a hit, it became one of the defining songs of the decade. The recording process was classic Steinman, take after take, building layer upon layer until the track felt massive, cinematic, almost operatic. And the music video only added to the legend, filmed in a genuinely unsettling Gothic former asylum in Surrey, England, complete with fencing choreography and dramatic lighting that made it an early MTV staple. Total Eclipse of the Heart hit #1 on both sides of the Atlantic. It made Bonnie Tyler a global star, and it gave her a song so powerful that decades later, it still trends online every single time there's an actual solar or lunar eclipse. Think about that for a second. A song about heartbreak, written in a recording studio in the early 80s, still finds a new generation of listeners every time the moon passes in front of the sun. She followed it up with more hits, including Holding Out for a Hero, which became just as iconic thanks to its placement in Footloose and its endless use in action movies, commercials and internet memes ever since. Here's what made Bonnie different from a lot of one-era pop stars. She never really went away. She kept recording, kept touring, and kept finding new audiences well into her 60s and 70s. In 2013, she represented the United Kingdom at the Eurovision Song Contest, performing her song "Believe in Me" on one of the biggest stages in European music. She didn't win, she placed 19th, but the performance reminded the world that her voice hadn't lost an ounce of its power. 10 years later, in 2023, she was honored by Queen Elizabeth II, receiving an MBE, Member of the Order of the British Empire, for her decades of service to music. That same year, she released her autobiography, Straight from the Heart, giving fans an inside look at a 50-year career that took her from a Welsh coal town to arenas around the world. She earned 3 Grammy nominations across her career, and by any measure, she'd secured her place as one of the most enduring voices to come out of the UK music scene. And through it all, she stayed married to her husband, Robert Sullivan, a relationship that lasted over 50 years, since 1973. By 2026, Bonnie was still active. She actually had a summer tour planned, but that tour would never happen. Back in May of 2026, Bonnie was hospitalized in Faro, Portugal, a city where she owned a home, for what's been described as emergency intestinal surgery. The surgery was serious enough that doctors made the decision to place her into a medically induced coma. For fans, this news came as a shock, especially with a tour on the calendar, and the road to recovery wasn't quick or easy. Bonnie remained in that coma for roughly a month before finally waking up in June. But even after waking up, updates from her team described her as still very unwell and remaining in intensive care. For weeks, fans held on to hope, watching for updates on her official Facebook page, hoping the woman who'd survived throat surgery in the 70s and thrived on stage for 50 years would pull through this too. Some updates were cautiously optimistic, but behind the scenes, her condition remained fragile. And then, on the night of July 8th, that fragile hope ran out. On July 9th, a statement appeared on Bonnie Tyler's official website and Facebook page. Her family and team confirmed that she had passed away unexpectedly the night before, in a hospital in Portugal, as a result of the illness she'd been battling. They asked fans for privacy as they processed the loss, saying a further statement would come later. The news spread almost instantly. Within hours, tributes were flooding in from fans across the world. People sharing memories of dancing to Total Eclipse of the Heart at weddings, hearing "Holding Out for a Hero" in their favorite movies, or simply admiring a woman who never stopped performing, never lost her voice, and never faded from relevance, despite 5 decades in the industry. Fellow musicians and longtime fans online echoed the same sentiment, that even though she'd been ill, the news still landed like a shock, because Bonnie Tyler always felt like a permanent fixture in music. Some pointed out that Jim Steinman, the man who wrote her biggest hit, has now passed as well, closing out an era of some of the most powerful ballads ever recorded. She's survived by her husband, Robert Sullivan, and by a catalogue of music that has already outlived multiple generations of listeners, and, if history is any indication, will keep finding new ones for decades to come. Bonnie Tyler went from a coal miner's daughter in a small Welsh town to one of the most recognizable voices in music history, and she did it without ever really changing who she was. Raw, powerful, unmistakable, right up until the end. Rest in peace, Bonnie Tyler, 1953 to 2026. If this video honored her the way you were hoping, drop a comment with your favorite Bonnie Tyler song or memory. I'd genuinely love to read them. Hit subscribe for more tributes and breaking entertainment stories. and I'll see you in the next one.